Hey everyone, we are Dani and Joanna, and 2 years ago we purchased this abandoned house with the aim to turn it into an off-grid self-sufficient homestead.
Although we've had this property for 2 years, we've only just moved in about 2 months ago, and we've had lots of new subscribers and people following our journey, and you might not have seen our previous videos. So today we thought we'd give you kind of a tour of the whole property, the land, a walk around, a really detailed explanation of what we plan on doing.
Yeah, I suggest you go and get yourself a nice hot drink, get yourself comfy. The land itself that came with the house is not that big. It's a quarter of an acre or 1,000 square meters.
We've watched a lot of other people buy acres and acres of land and farm, and it goes on for miles, but that just seemed way too overwhelming.
Yeah, a quarter of an acre seemed like it's not intimidating. It's big enough for us to try and be self-sufficient. But let's start from back there at the gate, and we're gonna go and talk about the garden later on. So starting here, this is our drive, and on the left we have the house, and the house also came with a barn, which is on my right. Now we did think to clean and tidy a little bit before we film this video, but then it wouldn't be authentic, so we kind of left it. It is work in progress. We've only been here for 2 months, so there was no point sugarcoating it. So we're starting right on the drive that's full of rubbish, and the first example is
Ta-da!
the old toilet that we ripped out, and a bunch of glass bottles that we've put here because we don't know what to do with them yet, so they can just stay here. So you will see a lot of rubbish throughout the video.
This isn't even the start of it.
Yeah, that's nothing. That's nothing. I mean, if we start tidying up, you would never finish tidying up to even film the walk around tour. But anyway, so this is the drive. This is the gate, which we haven't even tried to open yet. You couldn't even open it because of all the rubbish that we have in front of it. But yes, this is basically where the entrance to the property is.
It was a jungle, to be fair. There were trees up higher than my head, which I've managed to clear most of. Hence now we're able to put all our rubbish. So yeah. It's just trees replaced with rubbish. So we still really can't use this space yet, but there's just so much to pull out of the property. This, like we said, this isn't even the start of it. Where do we put it all?
Yeah. One day we're thinking of potentially joining the barn with the house, like cover it like a carport, so we can park cars and they're in the shade in the hot summer, away from rain and snow in the winter, etc.
And the hailstones as well, which could be like this big.
Yeah, you can get hailstones like the size of a walnut in the summer.
That was a big walnut I made then.
That was an apple. Let's go into the barn next. It's really beautiful stone. I think it's sandstone, and it's built just with like mud in between, so there's this dry wall basically.
It's probably one of my favourite things to look at on the property. The stonework is really nice, but there's just a few little problems with it that we're going to show you just now. Well, we don't even need to go inside to show you the first problem. Before we go inside, you can see the first problem there. The beam has rotten and it's cracked. The old previous owners have propped it up, which now that's failing as well. So that will need addressing at some point when we get to, I guess. Then we're going into the barn. It's a really nice, beautiful space in here. It's big as well. Look at those beams as well up there. Beautiful. In the roof.
Yeah, beautiful. We have 3 big bags of sawdust that we are using for our composting toilet. We started gathering some wood from the garden and we chopped it up, just threw in here so it can start drying, and hopefully we're going to use it in the winter months for the log burner. Then there's some other wood bits that we managed to salvage, and we just kind of threw in here that we're probably going to burn again in the log fire. So if you follow me, you really need to be careful where you're standing here, because there's like old rusty nails, glass, and everything like that. There's another old toilet, nothing to do with us this time. This was there. There's vast amount of stuff that we need to sort through. Like, there's some wood stakes there, which I think they use for like growing climbing plants, tomatoes, peppers, maybe just stakes for growing, I guess. So these might come in handy. There's a lot of plastic bottles here that we need to get rid of, and there's God knows what else. But the main thing about the barn is that the walls are quite damaged over here. You can see 2 big cracks behind me. And we don't really know what to do with it. Some suggested that it might be a water leak and just washing out the mud between the stone. Some suggested that might be the foundation or the lack of foundation, because these old buildings, they're not really built on foundation, and the ground here can be quite soft. So again, with the water trickling down, probably softened the ground and it shifted everything. So that's something that we will need to address in the future, but it's just finding the time now because we've been focused on the house, which we're gonna show you a bit later on.
As Dani said, there's a hell of a lot of rubbish in here, but there also is potentially some treasure. Those stakes will be perfect for plants to climb up. They've obviously been used for many years and still look pretty robust-ish, we'll find out. And then potentially at the back, there's lots of wood, things that have been used for storing sawdust or wood and things like that, but could be perfect for future projects like compost bins or raised beds to save us from buying things. And we also do like to reuse as much as possible. So anything that we find, we're kind of thinking, oh, what can we do with this? As another example, we just have this random, what is it? Barrel, oil barrel. We were talking about maybe just to burn stuff inside, or even maybe a solar shower in the future. Paint it a dark colour, put it in the sun, you got hot water. Potential future plans with this space are either gym and workshop, or even a temporary accommodation whilst we renovate the main house. You're going to see what we've done with part of the house in a little bit, which is where we're living now, but we can't live there whilst we renovate the house. So we've got big plans for this barn, and as you can see, it's a big job. So if anyone's got any tips on how to deal with broken roofs, these cracks in the walls, we would very much appreciate it.
And other things that we're going to have to tackle with at some point in the barn, apart from the structural issues that we have, is, I mean, if you thought that was quite a bit of stuff to deal with here, we have a lot of these, like, they used to be like these sacks, and they're made from plastic, and where they're so old, they've just become so brittle, and the plastic is embedded in the soil now, and it goes everywhere. And another thing is that when we walk on the floor, we realize that the ground is quite spongy, and it's not even the ground. I think we're like about a foot and a half off the actual ground, and it's all this like old sawdust, straw, and I think this is about a foot deep that we're gonna have to like shovel into, I don't know, bags and stuff like that, just to get rid of. So there's quite a bit of stuff to come out of here.
That's pretty much it for the barn. Let's take you out and round the corner to look at part of the garden and a couple more outbuildings.
Get out of here before something falls on our heads. Look at the blue sky. That's just off the barn, and we have 2 individual rooms. The first one, I think, used to be like chicken coop maybe.
Animals. They've got a tiny little log burner in here, which is to keep them warm in the winter. Some troughs, which would have been for feed. So yeah, potentially chickens or some kind of animal in here. They've still got all the cardboard down there. I'm probably standing on chicken poop right now as well, aren't I?
Yep, and there's a massive cobweb right next to your face.
But these ones with the roof seems pretty solid. It's just a shame it's attached to the barn, which we're gonna be tampering with, which might result in something happening to these, but we'll have to cross that bridge when we get to it.
So this room here is separate from the other one. Then going into the next one, there's a lot of like old tires that we're gonna have to dispose of or do something with, like potentially paint them, stack them, and do it like planters. That was probably something else to deal with livestock. Nice and cool in this one. And we have a secret door in this one, which leads to, let's see if I can get it opened. We're not going to go in there, we're just going to show you what's in there. But it's essentially the space between our barn and our next door neighbor's barn.
Oh, and look at all that rubbish.
And there's a lot of rubbish, like broken glass, plastic, yogurt pots. There is a lot in there. Looking at the wall on this side of the barn, with where the one crack was, you can't really see it on this side. So hopefully it's not as complicated to fix as we might think, or maybe it is. Time will show when we get to actually doing something with this space here.
We've got our perimeter walls around here, which one day we want to rebuild because, again, if you look at the stone walls, they're really nice. They're built with absolute precision. For some reason, parts of it have fallen out, whether it's tree roots or things like that. And we really want to rebuild them as they were, but how easy that's going to be? Again, we keep saying time will tell when we get to having a go at it ourselves. And we walk into this part of the garden, which is probably the part of the garden that makes me the most sad. And we really need to tidy up this space, but it's just one of those things. Whilst we've been trying to get somewhere to live on the property, it hasn't been a priority, but I think it's becoming one, because if you take a closer look, all you can see is piles and piles and piles, up to our knees nearly, of just plastic, rubbish, old tins, broken glass. It's actually quite depressing, really. So I think that this was, whoever lived here back whenever, this was just their dumping ground, and they obviously didn't care about what happened to the plastic, where it went. And now, we really need to deal with it before it starts breaking down even more. I mean, who knows how much it already has. So this is that part of the land where we're still at the bottom end of the driveway, and there's the barn. On this side, we have this perimeter wall kind of separating this part of the garden from that one. And one of these days, we want to just open it all out, take down the fencing, take down the stones, which would be absolutely perfect for raised beds or any other projects to fix the walls around the property. And then we've got a bit more of an open space, but you can tell that we're nowhere near that yet, are we? So follow me down to look at the rest of the land.
We did start taking the fence down here. I guess this was separated because of the livestock over there that we just show you. But for now, we don't have any animals, so we can just open it up just to see the whole potential of the garden. And eventually, when we do have chickens, we'll probably look into building them like either one of those mobile tractors to help fertilize the ground, or we can reuse one of those spaces if they still stand, depending on what happens with the barn. So we have this space in front of the house here. Again, there is stuff everywhere. We didn't sugarcoat it for the video. We bought a couple of bags of compost that we need to sprinkle on some of the raised beds that we started. And we have a bunch of bottles here that we filled from the well. The well hasn't been pumped for years, and you can tell there isn't much water coming into the well, so we can just pump a bit at a time, and then we have to leave it to refill. And eventually, hopefully, what that exercise is going to do is going to open the water paths coming into the well, so we get the water coming back to level as fast as we can, and we can just keep pumping continuously. But this is just an example of what we got out of the well yesterday. So that's like what, 60-70 liters of water, and it's absolutely muddy. Although it looks like it's settled a bit, yesterday was like completely brown. Next to that, we have some old tiles that we ripped out from the bathroom, from the old bathroom, which we'll have to get rid of at some point. Going along, we have this thing here. We don't know what it's called. We don't know what purpose it had, but it looked like it held some water. What we decided to do with it, we just put some old logs, some sticks that we found in the garden. It saves us burning them. We decided to start a hugelkultur, so we're going to compact these a bit. We're going to put some soil and some compost, and we can just grow things straight in here, right next to the house, conveniently. So this could be like a little herb garden or stuff like that. You can just quickly nip out from your kitchen, cut a little bit, carry on with the cooking. Seems like it's going to be ideal here, because that's what you want right next to your house. Because if you're cooking and you just need a little bit of oregano or thyme, you're not going to go to the bottom of the garden and get it. So makes sense to have it right next to the house.
And here, it doesn't look like a lot, but I assure you they're very heavy. This is what we pulled out from the room that we've been working on. There was a big stone oven, and we dismantled it within the first couple of days of being here. And we pulled out all this rock and rubble. This is only a very small part of it. Didn't really have anywhere to put it. Definitely going to do something with it, because the stones are really nice. But
we have an idea what to do with it, which we're going to talk about later on when we come around to showing you where we think that these stones might go. But some of them are pretty chunky. Look at this bad boy. Also, over here, we did have like some old grapevines. Most of them were dead and they were not producing any fruit or leaves. So we ripped those out because we're thinking of replacing them with some newer vines and sort of the vines that we actually like and we would like to eat.
They're only really good for wine, aren't they?
They were good for wine, but
not eating.
And we're not really big wine drinkers or drinkers at all.
And picture this, one day, nice pergola with a big roof, barbecue, pizza oven, sitting area, looking out onto the garden. That feels a long way away, doesn't it?
Yeah. We have even more tires here that John and I stuck together, and then we can even paint them or do something with them and just put some flowers in them. But obviously not going to grow any veg in an old tire, that's for sure. Go in here in a minute, but first carrying on down here in front of the house, we have some old bed frame and we have some old bricks that we pulled out from the same space where we got all these stones that Joanna mentioned earlier. Offcuts of tiles. This is when we did our bathroom, so we just put them here just because we don't know what to do with them just yet. There's a lot of rubbish. We didn't, like I said, we didn't want to clean and make it tidy and look good because we didn't want to sugarcoat anything. We have more rooms here that we can go into in a minute. We're going to do the garden first. Here
is a little space just in front of where we're living currently. And this is a project we started when we first bought the house and visited. We've covered the area completely in black plastic to try and overcome the jungle and reduce some of the weeds. We haven't got round to seeing what's going on underneath just yet. We've got this little space that's kind of segregated from the main garden by a concrete path, but it would be a nice little space for just some trees, some shrubs, some flowers potentially. We know for a fact we've got a fig tree in the back there. It doesn't look too happy at the moment, so we're going to try and have a look into saving it. And the rest, we're not entirely sure what they are and what the plan is with these trees.
So carrying on in the garden, we have marked out 5 beds where we would like to start growing things next year. Ada likes to walk all over them for now. That's fine because there's nothing planted apart from some cover culture. We put some seeds here to try and protect the soil in the winter from erosion, from the elements, and trying to suppress the weeds a little bit. And also, when the cover cultures grow, we plan to just chop and drop and just rejuvenate the soil as much as we can. And in that far bed there, we're trying to actually overwinter some garlic, and we put some spinach and peas there. So this is our small effort into trying to start growing something as soon as we can in that little bit of the garden.
If you look back at any old videos of the garden, you can see what an absolute jungle it was and everything that we've had to do to get to this point. So we're really proud that we've got so far to getting some beds in the ground, because we didn't think we'd do that this side of this year. Whether we can keep on top of the weeds, we'll see how that goes. And you'll see in a minute at the bottom of the garden, we did cut it all back and it's starting to come back a bit. So we need to think of a plan to try and get on top of that one as well.
And if you look down here, this is my side project. I start digging a hole when I'm bored or when I have time or when I feel like digging, because I wanted to dig out the roots of this tree that we have. We have these invasive species of trees on our property. They're called tree of heaven, although we refer to them as tree of hell because they grow so fast and they just keep popping out of everywhere. I mean, there's one here, there's one there, there's one over here. And this was cut back. Well, we said that we moved on a property, what, 2 months ago? Let's say we cut this a month ago. This is just grown in 1 month. There's another one growing there. They're all over the property and we're just trying to stay on top of them. But I thought I'm gonna dig a hole just to see if I can dig it out. So far, I couldn't. We have a few different types of trees. I think this one is plum. I'm not sure what this one is. We're waiting until it fruits next year to find out. We have a cherry tree over here, which I'm stoked about because I love cherries and it seems like it's a nice size. A lot of tree of hell down here. The bottom of the garden, like we said, we haven't really had the time to deal with. Apart from cutting the grass. We didn't even cut actually, it was just a lot of weeds flopped over and we just scooped them out. But you can see they're growing already straight away. And down the opposite corner of the garden, we have a bit more of a jungle-like growth, if you like. We have, I think that's another fruit tree, but I'm not sure what it's called in English. Some branches that are just cut down and we just put there so they can start breaking down. This here, if you don't know what that is, it's an outhouse. Now the house is very old. It's not connected to a sewer. It has a septic tank, but this is another thing that they used back in the day. Is what essentially is, it's a massive hole that goes deep in the ground. You go in, do your business, get out, and eventually that hole gets full. And what you'll do is just cover it up, dig another one, move the outhouse, and start the process again. Now we don't like that method because what happens is you go in there, you do your business, and all the pathogens and all the other nasty stuff gets released into the soil. What we opted for is a composting toilet that we can show you a bit later on.
Go inside, go inside, go inside, go
Inside
inside.
doesn't look too bad. If somebody wants to look, if you're squeamish, don't look, but it's not actually too bad. I have looked before. It's actually not too bad. Then in front of the outhouse we have some more of those poison berries. And then we come to this building here, which we don't know what it was. Potentially again something to do with animals, because there's something like a small trough down here that made out of concrete. Unfortunately, the theme with the rubbish everywhere continues here. It's just everything, you name it, whatever you think, suitcases, deodorant. I mean, there's even some pills there, a purse, an iron. It's sad really to see how people treat their own property. We're not going to go inside because it doesn't look very safe. The roof is caving in, and if you look underneath, you can see how the roof structure is actually broken up there, and it's just propped on some bricks, so we're not going to go in there. But again, even more rubbish everywhere here. We have a couple of ideas, but nothing really is decided. If you have any suggestion what we can do with it, leave them in the comments below.
From here, we've done a full circle all the way coming back down to the house. And now we can have a little look at what's going on inside. We live in this section here, which is the one we've been renovating. We'll leave that one till last. So we'll head up to the top end of the building. It's kind of a funny layout. There's lots of outside doors because the rooms have all been separated. So we'll go into the first two rooms this way. Very much a storage space at the moment. Nice old coat and hat. In here, we're keeping most of our DIY materials at the moment, to be honest. But there's two rooms. You can tell this used to be one bedroom. It's not massive, but it's not in terrible condition. So we thought we can store some of our stuff in here. And a second, slightly larger room. Again, it's weatherproof-ish. So it's a storage space for us again at the moment. And there's still lots of it's just the old furniture, bedding, bits and bobs from the house that we also haven't had a chance to get rid of yet.
We're going through these seriously compromised stairs. Half of it's crumbled and the other one is just coming apart and coming away from the house. So we have to be careful going through here, but we don't come here often. We just use it as a storage again. This is how I accessed the attic when we had the leak and we had to fix the chimney. So yeah, we use it just to store some of our belongings because we can't fit everything in the studio. The floor in this room feels spongy. They've just laid some of this chipboard down, and obviously with the time being exposed to moisture and humidity, it's just lost its rigidity, so it's a bit spongy. Like I said, we're just using it as a storage for some of our boxes and belongings, which we're slowly trying to unpack and move into the studio. But the studio is only one room and we have 2-3 rooms full of our belongings.
We've got some lovely little trinkets in this dresser and we really need to sort through it. But again, it's just not been a priority. And like Dani said, there's probably also who knows what in those drawers.
And now in the basement that
we don't like going in.
We didn't like going in because it was full of a lot of rubbish and stinky food and something that once resembled food. But now it's not as bad, so it's almost empty, but it's now housing our water system. We had to put this water system in place because we only have water for about an hour a day. So what we've done, we took the mains and we feed the mains into this 300-litre drum, and we fill it up automatically when there's water in that 1 hour a day, and then we can use it whenever we want and whenever we need it throughout the day. So we don't have to revolve within this 1 hour a day to try and have a shower, to wash up, etc. So we collect the water in here, and then we pump it through the house with this pump when and as we need it. And the only other thing that we have in here is our tumble dryer, because we don't have anywhere to put it yet. At some point we're looking on to sorting out the well, if that's feasible, and if not, we're looking into potentially digging in the ground and creating a nice water catchment system from the rain. And now the only thing we have left to show you is the studio that we live in currently, and we will be living whilst we're renovating the rest of this property. So coming through, we use this space for our composting toilet just down there, and we have covered that in another video why we're composting. And well, we said earlier, we don't like to, it's not connected to the sewer, and we have a septic tank, but everything it just soaks away, and we don't like that. And we rather compost it where we can actually, as long as it's done safely, you can get a lovely compost that you can reintroduce into your garden to feed your plants. And if you really are grossed out by the human manure concept, then you can just put it in fruit trees or flowers. You don't have to put it on your veggies. So we use it like a bit of like a mud room. The dog is quite muddy sometimes when it rains. We're quite filthy and muddy coming from the garden. So this space is quite useful. Before we enter in there, it's just to take your shoes off, take your coat off. Some of these glasses were broken, and rather than replacing the whole glass, I just took a bit of silicone and just went around it, and now it's actually quite safe. And more or less that's it here. Come on in. And now into this mishmash of a room. So this is very diverse room. So down in the far corner we have our sink, a boiler, we have our washing machine and a dishwasher down here, a gas burner that we still need to tidy up because that's the hose that needs to go behind it. Yesterday I installed extractor fan. We still need to clad the wall with something. Somebody pointed out that this is not well planned because the pipe needs to go under, and then that could have been tidier, which is true, but we wanted to push the appliance as far back to the wall as possible because you can see how narrow this is. Excuse the mess here. On the other side we have the shower in the same room. Very, very diverse. We have a window that we can open, crack open to get the steam out, and there is one section with a missing tile. That tile has been missing there for about 2 weeks. I just need to put it there, but I never got around to it. Best thing about the shower, Jonah's having a shower. I'm flipping burgers. There's a burger in the shower.
Yeah, I really like this space, but it was an absolute nightmare to tile. So we are very grateful that it's, well, don't look at that. Nearly done.
We're totally not using a black bag for a bin. We don't even have a bin. It's gonna feel like we're going up in the wall as soon as we get a bin. And down here we have Ada's bed, which is currently sitting on a very nice DIY bed frame. And the reason we've done the bed frame for her is because from the cold floor and her warm body heat, there's a condensation on the floor, and it just, the foam inside gets moldy sometimes, so we decided to raise it on that bed frame, makeshift bed frame.
For some reason, the audio stopped working for this part of the video, the grand tour of our tiny living space. This is the room that was an empty shell and then turned into a cosy home. It's far from perfect, but will keep us warm and dry whilst we do other projects such as the barn and garden. We have a decent kitchen workspace as well as one for the computers. Some of the kitchen cupboards are also masquerading as a wardrobe as we couldn't fit one in. We renovated this old log burner to keep us warm in the winter, with a backup of an electric heater when we need it.
Thanks for joining us. Hope you enjoyed this walk around our property.
And if you want to see what we get up to, because there's going to be plenty more to come of our renovation and learning how to homestead from scratch, then don't forget to subscribe.
And if you have any comments or suggestions, drop them in the comments below.